Facebook has decided to do away with an anonymous forum that its employees were using after some of the conversations and debates that took place in that anonymous forum became racial, sexist, or offensive. Now, it was built by Facebook employees as a side project a couple of years ago. FB, or Facebook Anon, became a forum for Facebook employees to air grievances or share information that could get them in trouble. So again, the emphasis here is that it was Facebook employees using this forum anonymously in order to talk about some of the more controversial things that were going on. Now, Facebook Anon attracted comments that many employees found offensive. For example, some posts last year said Facebook lowered the bar to attract female engineers to boost its diversity numbers, and that provoked angry responses from others in the chat room. Now, Facebook had responded to that and said that the notion that they lowered standards for women was absolutely ridiculous. And apparently things just got so hostile there that it was creating an uncomfortable work environment, and they decided to do away with it. And then one of the executives at Facebook made a really good point about how anyone who uses the social networking site is forced to use their real identity. And so why is it that in this case, the employees didn't have to abide by the same rules? Let me give you Lori Goler's full comment. She says, a cornerstone of our culture is being open. The Facebook Anon internal Facebook group violated our terms of service, which require people to use Facebook, including our employees, to use an authentic identity on our platform.
Well, I mean, this one's a little complicated because I know why they didn't use their real identity, because look at the guy at Google who did use his real identity and got fired. That's why they don't do it. So let's not be disingenuous about why they hide their identity. On the other hand, it is a violation of their term of service, and that is one thing that has kept Facebook a little bit more sane than other outlets like Twitter, because you are actually connected to who you are. So that brings down the level of trolling, not completely, but significantly. Whereas when you're anonymous, apparently, Lord of the Flies sets in and you start smashing conches over people's heads. Sometimes now, literally, physically in the real world, but certainly in terms of comments online. And then secondarily, I think there should be a forum to have a rational conversation. I don't know if that's what was happening there, about gender differences and disparities in pay and how to resolve that. And I don't know that they were looking to resolve that, but I think that a conversation could be helpful there if directed in the right way. On the other hand, if it's not directed in the right way and you just have a bunch of people screaming about how women are inferior, I can see how that could create a hostile work environment.
Right.
So these are not easy issues.
So a few observations that I made while researching the story. What I found interesting was that this was a forum that was developed by Facebook employees several years ago, and they never had a problem with it, or at least it wasn't reported that anyone had a problem with it until the 2016 general election, when Trump became a topic of discussion, and that was when people started to feel more comfortable coming out and talking about, gender in the workplace and their feelings toward that, and lowering the standards to accommodate women. And so it's amazing how much of an impact that election really had, not just in our national discourse, but even discourse among employees at various companies. The second thing is, look, you can do away with these forums all you want. You can fire people as much as you want, but this is an issue that persists, and it's something that I think needs an open dialogue. So I agree with you, Cenk, where you say, hey, there needs to be a discussion about this. I'm not entirely sure, what the right way to go about it is. And look, people do like to hide behind anonymity. And in this case, I guess for good reasons, because they will get fired if they're creating a hostile work environment. But just because you did away with this chat or this forum doesn't mean that your employees don't still feel these things.
Yeah, Anna, that's why I think the second issue here and why it's so difficult is that some people support Trump and they got every right to. It's America. On the other hand, Trump is clearly racist and a bigot. And sexist and a sexual harasser and a person who's committed or admitted to committing sexual assault. So those facts make you uncomfortable, but they are facts nonetheless. And so you say it's my opinion, it's not my opinion. He says it every day. He compares people who are against fascists to the people who are fascists. And I can go on and give you dozens of examples. So what do you do when some percentage of the country and some percentage of your employees like a guy who's racist? And in this case, sexist. That's a really hard question. You get to believe those things in America. I don't know that you can fire a third of the country, but at the same time, those are unsettling, especially in a work environment where we have to respect each other and work as a team. There are no easy answers here, and all the companies are trying to do their best to figure out the right answers. If you like this clip of the Young Turks, you know there's a whole live 2-hour show, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern every day, and you can download it or stream it and watch it without ads if you become a member. tytnetwork.com/join.